Now back to the story we mentioned at the beginning of the newscast. A former youth pastor admits he sexually assaulted at least 2 girls when they were teenagers nearly 8 years ago.
43-year-old Luke Cunningham pleaded guilty today to 2 counts of sexual assault of a minor. That was enhanced to a first-degree felony.
You may remember our continuing coverage on Cunningham's arrest and indictment in Lubbock County. He accepted a deal with prosecutors to dismiss the other 14 counts against him. The 2 charges he pleaded guilty to stem from assaults on 2 girls in September and October of 2018. Cunningham worked at Turning Point Community Church here in Lubbock from 2016 to 2020. He also worked at churches in Fort Worth and Granbury. Prosecutors say he spent more than a decade grooming and molesting children in those communities.
The levels that this predator went to keep his abuse secret and to dangle the salvation of the victims as well as their family members and loved ones above them to gain their compliance and their silence is what makes this case particularly heinous.
Assistant District Attorney Cassie Graham says Cunningham also had a plan while he was in prison to have one of his victims murdered. She says he conspired with another inmate at the Lubbock County Detention Center to have her killed and staged as a suicide.
Detailed plans as far as describing how to enter her house, where she worked, what her vehicles were that she drove, what her bedroom doors looked like in her house, how to get into her room, all very detailed things that could be corroborated independently.
It's important to note prosecutors did not pursue charges against Cunningham in connection with that accusation. The plea deal includes a 40-year prison sentence. He has to serve at least half of that before he's eligible for parole. KCBD News Channel 11's Aubrey Harris will look at the lingering trauma the victims face to this day, coming up tonight at 10.